Thank you. I'd like to call this council meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. And thank you for coming. So we have, I'm going to ask anyone that has, if they want to disclose any pecuniary interest. I know we've already talked about that, but I'm going to ask it again. Declare it now, please. Oh, there's one. So change to the agenda tonight. Item 13B1 will not be part of the agenda, and we'll deal with it next meeting. So, reporting out of closed, I've got a motion by Councillor Podnovich, seconded by Councillor Elliott, that the Council of the Town of Minto receives the closed session report regarding third-party information supplied in confidence to the municipality, and further that the Council approves the confidential direction given to staff. All in favor of that motion? Carried. Thank you. Resolution by Councillor Dirksen, seconded by Councillor Zimmerman, the minutes of the Town of Minto, January 23rd, 2024, closed session meetings and February 6th, 2024, regular council meeting be approved. All in favor of that motion? Carried. Thank you. So tonight we have a public hearing. I'm the chairman of the public hearing. Any decision reached by this committee tonight cannot be used to set a precedent. Each application considered by the committee is dealt with on its own merits, and no two applications are exactly the same. This has to do with MV 2024-01, the McGill property at 6119 Wellington Road, 109. So the public hearing is to consider a minor variance application, MV 2024-01, Kurt and Stephanie McGill. Kurt's here. Thank you. So I will call on Secretary Treasurer McRobb to state the following.
Thank you. The property subject to the proposed minor variance application is legally described as Concession D, Part Lot 89, and is municipally known as 6111 Wellington Road 109 in the Town of Minto. The subject property is approximately 1.9 acres or 0.76 hectares. The purpose and effect of the minor variance application is to provide relief from Section 6.1.4b of the Town of Minto's Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 01-86 as amended, to facilitate the construction of an accessory structure with an increased combined floor area. Section 6.1.4b permits a combined maximum floor area of 185.8 meters squared or 2,000 feet squared for all accessory buildings, whereas combined floor area 418 meters square or 4,500 feet squared is proposed. Additional relief may be considered at this meeting. The notices were mailed to property owners within 200 feet or 60 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies on February 5th, 2024, and posted in the subject property on February 5th, 2024. Reports are available for council to review was from the Town of Minto and from the senior planner from Wellington County. I advise that I have not heard of any speakers registered to participate in the public hearing, other than the owners.
So I'm going to ask when we have speakers at the microphone, which is at the podium, pick up the mic and state your name and speak in to the mic if you don't mind. Secretary Treasurer McRobb, did you advise any speakers registered to sign in?
I have not, so if there is anyone here for this meeting, please sign in at the back.
I'm sure Kurt has already signed in. Thank you. So I'm going to ask our Director of Building and Planning Services, Terry Kuipers, to enlighten us on this zoning.
Perfect. Thank you, Chair Turton. So as mentioned, the subject property is located at 6111 Wellington Road 109, which is right adjacent to the southerly urban boundary of Harriston. The subject property, is approximately 1.9 acres in size, is zoned A-1, which permits, among other uses, a single-family detached dwelling, and accessory units up to a combined total square footage of 2,000 square feet. The purpose of this application is to permit the construction of a 2,500 square foot additional dwelling unit. Additional dwelling units within our zoning bylaw are considered accessory uses. So as such, with the existing 2,000 square foot shed plus the 2,500 square foot ADU, the combined square footage of the two of them is what's being requested for this application. So the proposed attached dwelling unit is to be a detached garage style. So there's going to be limited living space on the ground floor, and then the second floor will contain additional living space. One thing to note, the 2,500 square feet does seem large for an accessory dwelling unit. One thing to keep in mind with the lot coverage definition, it includes the area of covered decks, which in this case, there's going to be a substantial covered rear deck on the ADU. So that's included within this 2,500 square foot request. The town also has a water and sewer use bylaw in place, which requires properties to connect to municipal services when there's water mains, sanitary and water directly in front of the property, which is the case with this property. So the owner will have to pump the effluent from the ADU either into the existing house to connect to the existing sanitary system or to the existing service laterals that are brought into the property. We do not allow separate connections to the mains for these additional dwelling units. The one thing to note, there is approximately a 12-foot elevation drop between the principal unit and this ADU located to the rear of the property, and it's about 400 feet away. As the owner can attest to, a regular residential pump chamber will probably not be sufficient. The pump will have to be upgraded, but it still is a possibility to pump up there. Staff did review the application and is in support of the application request, subject to two conditions. That approval from Wellington County Source Water Protection is obtained, and that the ADU is attached to municipal services. If there's any questions, I would be more than happy to help answer them.
Thank you, Terry. So what we'll do first is we'll save our questions and we'll ask the applicant owner to provide his comments. Kurt McGill, if you're interested, please.
I don't have any questions. Has anybody got any questions? No, not really.
So Terry's covered it.
Yeah, he's covered it quite fine.
Okay. So we will open it up to questions. First, I need to ask if there's any persons wishing to speak to the application other than yourself, Kurt. And then we will open it up to questions from the committee. So, council, any questions? Just one driveway. You use the existing driveway to get down to the south side of your shop.
That's right. Yeah, and that'll go back to the ADU. Yep.
Really, that's the only question that I have. Is there any other concerns at all in reference to this? No response, rebuttals, or anything? Okay. So then, give me a motion.
Yes,
Go ahead,
through you, Chair Turton, I will provide a resolution for committee to consider as the approval. Upon a resolution being carried or defeated, the notice of decision of the Committee of Adjustment is to be signed by all members of the Committee of Adjustment in favor of the decision. The motion would be that the Town of Minto Committee of Adjustment approves the application by Kurt and Stephanie McGill for property legally described as Concession D, Part Lot 89, municipally known as 6111 Wellington Road 109, in the Town of Minto to provide relief from Section 6.1.4B to permit for a maximum ground floor area of all accessory structures on the property of 418 meters squared or 4,500 feet squared, with the following conditions. 1, approval from Wellington Source Water Protection is required, and 2, the accessory dwelling unit is required to be connected to existing municipal water and sanitary service connections. I would need a mover and a seconder for that.
Thank you very much. Can we have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Dirksen. Seconder, Councillor Gunson. Everybody understand what we're voting on here? I'm going to call the question. All in favor of this motion? That's carried. Thank you. So anyone wishing to receive a copy of the notice of decision of the Committee of Adjustment in respect to the minor variance application must make a written request to the clerk of the town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89, Harrison, Ontario, NOG 10, or by emailing Annaline at town.minto.on.ca. And I'm going to adjourn the public meeting. So thank you very much. Okay, so moving along, I've got a resolution moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that the Town of Minto Committee of Adjustment convene into Committee of the Whole. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. We have no public meetings tonight. We have two delegations. Tonight we have a Sunday gun hunting request. And I'm going to ask Jill and Gerald. Jill, are you speaking? Okay. Okay, so if you don't mind going over and picking up the mic and stating your name. Mark, is Mark here? Mark?
Yes, I'm here.
Zoom, yeah.
Okay,
Zoom.
Mark? Oh, he's
He's on
on Zoom.
Zoom.
Okay, perfect. All right, so what we'll do, Jill, is give you and Mark 10 minutes to enlighten us on. We've read your information. We've read everybody's emails, letters to us. And so, Jill, go ahead, please.
Thank you. At the risk of sounding repetitive, I'm going to read what I submitted for fellow attendees here. Good evening, Mayor Turton, members of council, and fellow attendees. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jill Mackin. I'm here this evening with my husband, Gerald, and our sons, Reed and Luke. After much thought and consideration, Gerald and I decided we would spearhead this proposal and seek support for a bylaw that permits Sunday gun hunting in Minto. As rural landowners, we enjoy hunting our property for sport, sustenance, and our love of nature. We hunt mainly as a group of 6, the 4 of us, our nephew, and my father, who taught the rest of us to hunt. Our boys are 4th-generation hunters, and we know several other groups who are multi-generational hunters as well. We get together during hunting seasons to spend quality time doing something we all enjoy. At present, our 2 adult sons, Reed and Luke, and our nephew, Damon, are all working full-time Monday to Friday as apprentices in separate fields of trade work. Being young men who work and study hard, they have very limited days off. At present, Saturdays are the only day they can hunt unless they take a weekday off. However, that is costly, as losing pay in the current economy is just not feasible for them. We've discussed the matter at hand with fellow hunters, family, neighbors, friends, and others over the past several months. We've gained a significant amount of support in favor of a bylaw. Some of those supporters are here tonight, and we thank them for taking the time out of their busy lives to attend this meeting with us. Others have sent emails of support, and numerous people have signed a petition in support of the cause. At this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Mark Rickman, who is a manager of policy at the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters. Mark is going to give you a detailed overview of the many reasons why Sunday gun hunting is beneficial to hunters and the animal population. He will also highlight some of the positive impacts Sunday gun hunting could have on both conservation and the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Welcome, Mark Rickman. Appreciate you being here tonight. The floor is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, good evening, Chair Turton, councilors, and everyone else there who is in attendance. I think I see a couple of OFAH directors in the audience as well. So it's nice to see everybody out. My name is Mark Rickman, as was mentioned, and I am the manager of the policy section at the Ontario Federation of Anglers and Hunters here in Peterborough. And on behalf of our 100,000 members, subscribers, and supporters, some of whom live either in or within close proximity to the municipality, Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak today in support of Sunday gun hunting. And in particular, I would like to thank Jill and Gerald for bringing this to my attention and for leading the charge locally. It's really on the backs of local champions like yourselves that we've been able to make so much progress on this issue over the years. So back in 2005, lobbying efforts from the OFAH and the Ontario Federation of Agriculture convinced the provincial government to liberalize Sunday gun hunting regulations in Southern Ontario. And after that initial round of consultation, 67 municipalities across Southern Ontario immediately passed resolutions in support of Sunday gun hunting. And in the years since, we have increased that number to 190 on the books, with Scugog Township having passed a resolution earlier this month, which would bring that number up to 191. So hunting in Ontario is regulated under the Fish and Wildlife Conservation Act, and the Act states that, and I quote, "A person shall not carry or discharge a firearm other than a longbow or a crossbow for the purpose of hunting on a Sunday in any area lying south of the French and Mattawa rivers, except those municipalities listed in Part 7 of the regulation," unquote. This means that gun and archery hunting on Sundays is permitted across Northern Ontario, so north of the French River and the Mattawa River. And archery hunting is currently permitted on Sundays everywhere in the province, including in the town of Minto. And prior to 2005, there were actually a few scattered areas in the eastern part of the province that allowed Sunday gun hunting as well. So Minto is located in Wildlife Management Unit 85B, and I note that the other 4 municipalities in 85B all permit Sunday gun hunting already, as do the neighboring municipalities of South Bruce, Southgate, Wellington North, and North Perth. So let me give you an example to illustrate how that looks on the landscape. If we picture a rural property owner, say a farmer that owns, 100 acres of land in the municipality on the west side of Highway 6, that person can spend a beautiful Sunday afternoon on their property shooting clay targets, either trap or skeet, with a shotgun. They can legally do that. They can discharge a shotgun for the purposes of target shooting. That same person is currently prohibited from hunting on their own property on Sundays with a shotgun. But just across the road on the east side of Highway 6 in Wellington North Township, no such restriction exists. So that person could either be shooting clays or hunting with a shotgun, for instance, on a Sunday. Hunting is associated with a rare triple bottom line of social, economic, and ecological benefits. Specifically, hunting can help with controlling crop and livestock predation, reduce the number of wildlife vehicle collisions, and generate revenue for fish and wildlife management in the province. In fact, the original proposal to expand Sunday gun hunting in 2005 that I mentioned earlier also included an amendment to expand deer seasons where guns can be used to include those new Sunday opportunities. The proposal specifically highlighted the benefits of hunting, saying the extended seasons are intended to assist in the control of agricultural damage caused by deer and reduce the number of deer vehicle collisions, as well as enhance hunting opportunities. Wildlife populations in Ontario are healthy and in many areas increasing in numbers to the point of being overabundant. While this is generally good news, aside from the overabundant populations, there are a number of cases where populations have reached levels that are resulting in unacceptable impacts either on agriculture, the environment, and or public safety. So according to the Ontario Soil and Crop Improvement Association, each year approximately or around $50 million in crop damage is caused by wildlife, most notably deer, raccoons, coyotes, and waterfowl, all of which are sustainably harvested under our regulated hunting system. Livestock predation is also quite common, so predation on the killing of livestock directly by, say, wolves or coyotes or bears, wherever you are in the province. And this has resulted in increasing demands from the public for cost-effective and accessible methods to control predators like those wolves, coyotes, and bears. The Ministry of Transportation states that there is a motor vehicle collision with wildlife every 38 minutes in this province, and 90% of those involve white-tailed deer. These collisions result in death, hundreds of serious injuries, and tens of millions of dollars in damage claims, not to mention an unfortunate loss of wildlife. The MNRF has repeatedly stated that hunting is the most cost-effective wildlife management tool, without which they could not possibly cope with increasing wildlife populations in many parts of Ontario. Hunting in Ontario generates $1.5 billion in annual economic activity in the province. There are over 470,000 trained, licensed, and responsible hunters in Ontario who contribute hundreds of millions each year to fish and wildlife programs, including the Special Purpose Account, which funds all fish and wildlife programs in the province from the sale of licenses. We no longer live in a Monday to Friday world, as you've heard mentioned by Jill. I know from speaking with hunters that townships that permit Sunday gun hunting are viewed as quote unquote more attractive destinations for those hunters. And if Sunday gun hunting was allowed, many hunters who would not normally think of traveling into the municipality for only a Sunday hunt might take advantage of the opportunity and bring with them economic activity for the community. So public safety is often carted out as a reason to oppose hunting, not just Sunday gun hunting, but hunting of any kind. But hunting is one of the few recreational activities that requires proof of competency before the person engages in the activity through mandatory hunter safety and firearms safety courses. The OFAH has been administering the Ontario Hunter Education Program on behalf of the provincial government for 25 years. And since the advent of those mandatory training courses, the injury rate for hunting accidents has dropped to virtually nil. Prior to 1968, when hunter education first became mandatory, over 100 incidents occurred every year. In 2018, for instance, only 6 incidents were investigated. And according to Statistics Canada, hunting in Canada is responsible for only 0.001% of accidents, far less than injuries from car accidents, insect bites, even lightning strikes. And there's no logical reason to think that hunting is any less safe on a Sunday than it is on the other days that it currently occurs in Minto. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think you'll agree that continuing to prohibit Sunday gun hunting is an untenable position, given the suite of benefits associated with it. Sunday gun hunting can increase harvest levels, decrease predation on crops and livestock, provide increased economic activity, and is clearly not a threat to public safety. So thank you for allowing me to appear before you today. I would be more than happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. I will say, though, that before I do that, I've heard a few people mention, that a bylaw change might be required. Unless the township actually has a standing bylaw that expressly prohibits Sunday gun hunting, which I highly doubt, then no bylaw change is required. All that is required is a simple resolution to permit Sunday gun hunting in the township. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mark. That was very interesting. I mean, there's a lot of good facts and figures there. So, Annaleen, how do we proceed?
Well, if council had any questions, they could certainly ask them, but I would
Okay.
put forward a motion that council of the town of Minto receive the Sunday gun hunting delegation and that a staff report come forward at the next council meeting for their consideration.
All right, so do we have a few minutes for questions for either Jill or Mark? Questions? Anyone? Go ahead, Councillor Dirksen.
Well, I think with all these subject matter experts here, we should probably take advantage of that. So I do have a couple of questions. First of all, Jill, I think it's great that you are a rural person with hunting property and that you are you're spearheading this because if everybody was from town or from out of the area and they thought it was a great idea to be tramping through other people's bushes, that would be a different feel to me. So I think it's great that somebody who is a hunter and has a bush and lives in the country, that makes sense. I think that we probably have to hear from people who live in the country and have a bush and maybe don't hunt. I am curious, how many Sundays are we talking about here? Like, I know it's a Sunday for deer. And I know it would be 5 for turkey from what Mark's, I think I read that in Mark's.
Mark, do you want to just confirm? Sorry.
And
Carol,
then there's
I'm not
ducks.
gonna-
Like, I don't know
I
what
don't wanna
else.
cut you
I don't know
off,
what,
but-
I don't know what else there is. I'm just wondering how many Sundays would that be out of 52?
Mark?
Yeah, great question. It would actually, there's quite a bit of overlapping seasons, but if we were to, I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but if we were to simply think about deer hunting for instance, that gun hunt is fairly limited in southern Ontario, not only because there are controlled deer hunts in the area, but also because the season in which people can use either shotguns or muzzle loaders or whatever the case may be in that particular wildlife management unit is generally very, very short compared to the entirety of deer season, including bows. There are a lot, in fact, I would argue the majority of days in any given wildlife management unit in deer season are actually bow hunting only. So obviously Sunday gun hunting and the permission of Sunday gun hunting would not apply to the parts of deer season that are restricted to longbows and crossbows. So I could probably quickly calculate that for you, but we're talking a minimal number of days specifically for deer. It's a little bit different if we start talking about coyote hunting, for instance, which generally is open year round. So those Sunday people don't actually hunt coyotes, 52 weeks of the year. But the season is nonetheless open the entire year. And I believe that is still the case in Wildlife Management Unit 85B. Again, I can double check that, and if council decides to draft a report as a result of this meeting tonight, then certainly I can provide any additional information that that council and staff might need, and we can get much more specific if that's the case.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Elliott?
So if you're not hunting in your own property and people want to go hunting, I assume they have to have permission from the owner to be able to enter their properties, and it wouldn't matter whether it's a Sunday or whether it's a Saturday or a Monday.
Correct.
Now, I have no idea about this because I'm not a hunter, but why did it stop on Sundays? It's because of religion, or what were the reasons?
Yeah, great question, and that's exactly it. Actually, is largely when those original Sunday gun hunting restrictions were developed back in the 1950s. Religion played a greater role in influencing legislation than it tends to nowadays. And as I said, not only has that changed, but also the typical Monday to Friday 9 to 5 work week that people might have been living back in the day largely doesn't exist anymore. Times have changed considerably, and as we've heard a couple times already tonight, we don't live in a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 world, and in many cases Sundays are actually the only days available to some people, particularly people that have young kids that are active in, say, hockey or any other extracurricular activities, which tend to land on Saturdays. So that tends to eliminate Saturday as a hunting day, leaving an opportunity for hunting with family or friends on Sundays. And I will say that just to be very, very clear, that if council passes a resolution now or in the future to permit Sunday gun hunting, all existing applicable bylaws continue to apply. So any discharge bylaw that Minto might have and the stipulations therein continue to apply. Existing provincial hunting seasons continue to apply. Trespass to property laws continue to apply. You cannot hunt on private land without express permission of the landowner. That, pardon me, that won't change whether you're hunting on a Saturday or a Sunday in the township.
Okay.
Another comment that I would have, I'm not a hunter, but I'm involved in a lot of sports in my life, and Sundays have always been available for me to play hockey or for my family to play ball or whatever we were going to do. So it just seems critical that another sport can't be done on a Sunday.
Question or an answer, sir? An answer. Would you mind going to the mic, stating your name, please, and go ahead.
Right. Fortunately, I don't have to adjust the height on this one, but I appreciate the opportunity to rebut or to answer the questions that have been asked, and just to add on, and I appreciate the questions that have been asked, especially concerning and the comments about landowners and landowners that hunt versus landowners that may not hunt. I do want to emphasize that, speaking as a resident of Harrison, Ontario, that is lives inside the city or the town of Ontario, not rural. As to your point, trespassing laws, prohibit, trespassing is prohibited, but more specifically in this township, I believe, over and above the provincial regulations, you must obtain written permission from the landowner, which is over and above any requirements of provincial regulations. The other note I want to make is that with rural versus inside town, I take great pride in my landowner relationships as a hunter that I have with landowners. The landowners look forward to me joining there. We have good camaraderie, share stories and such forth, and it's always a good time. So I just want to point out that I don't believe that as you stated, it's legal on Monday to Saturday. None of the laws prohibiting illegal activities disappear if we extend this to Sunday. Thank you. I hope I had some light on that.
Sorry, sir, would you say your name, please?
What? Apologies, I neglected. Greg Mitchell.
Thank you. Okay, so I'd like Jill, last comment, okay? Yes, please, yep. Thank you. Yeah, Jill, you started it, so you can finish it.
All right. I do know that when we circulated our petition, and there were several, some in the room and some not in the room, who asked for petition sheets to circulate to their fellow hunters, their neighbors, their friends. We have both rural landowners in the room as well that do hunt, and we had lots who own rural property who don't hunt in support of as well. And their main question was, why isn't it allowed? Versus why would we not, or why they couldn't come up with a compelling reason to not allow it, or to understand why it just wasn't allowed in the first place. So the other thing I wanted to mention was, I know, the question was asked specifically about church. I don't think it matters what you do, and I appreciate the comment about the sports. We all have different means and ways of spending family time, and that definition to each of us can be very different. Some choose to ATV, some choose to hunt, some choose religion, and some choose all of the above, and that's all okay. I think Minto is definitely becoming more diversified and inclusive, and I appreciate that as a resident of Minto, and I know a lot of the fellow attendees do as well. And I just wanted to point out, it was too late for me by the time I caught wind of the Outdoor Life show that's coming up early May that council is supportive. That's going to happen in Clifford. I think this is an opportunity to segue nicely. I know fishing and hunting are going to be raised at that Outdoor Life show, and I think in council being supportive of that, I respectfully ask that you put some thought and consideration into our request here tonight. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jill.
And thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Mark, same to you. Thank you for your comments. I would like to make one request of you, Mark. Could you forward the answers to Councillor Dirksen, to her questions, and we will incorporate them into the staff report. Okay,
Yes.
so the dialogue back and forth to you, if there's other questions through our staff to you, that's not an issue with you?
No, that's perfect. I welcome it. Thank you very much.
Okay. So I need a mover in a second. Sorry, Councillor Dirksen, go
Well, I
ahead.
was just going to say, I think I got the answer because I think you said that coyote hunting is 365, right? So it is. No, I realize that, but it's more of a winter thing, at least around our place, anyways. Yeah, they like to track.
So I think we're clear. I'd like to have a mover and a seconder for this resolution. No? Please, Councillor Gunson, Councillor Elliott, and I'm going to read the motion again, that the Council of the Town of Minto receive the Sunday gun hunting delegation and that a staff report come forward at the next council meeting for consideration. All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. So thank you again, you folks, for coming. I appreciate your input. I mean, I agree with Jill. Things that are happening in Minto is very important to all of us. And so thank you for coming forward and bringing that. And if you guys want to stay and gals want to stay for our meeting, that's fine. If not, you can now you have an opportunity to exit.
It's not lonely to me.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
That's right.
That's right, it'll be empty.
Give that to Ed, will you? Yeah, great. Edward. Thank you.
Get over there, yeah, wherever you.
See you, Daryl. So we have a second delegation this evening, and that's Andy and Tracy. I'm sure they're, or did, so this has to do with the McQueen Galloway Associates 2024 to 20, yeah, I'm not sure if that's the right date there, strategic
I
plan
should say
presentation.
to 28, not 48.
Yep, okay. So, and then Mr. Potter's going to present as well. We'll wait till they come.
Yes.
So I've just said, Tracy, that our second delegation here tonight is Queen Galloway Associates, and we missed an interesting meeting with our residents that want to bring Sunday gun hunting in. So it was very interesting. So I'm going to ask Tracy, Andy, Mark, we'll kind of have a round table here, whatever we need to, we'll just get going on this. Tracy, go ahead, please.
Thank you and good evening to staff again and council and the mayor and any online viewers that there might be. MGA is happy to be here tonight to, as you know, we were selected to do the 4 plans, and that was the strategic plan, which we're here tonight to talk about and share your plan with you. The Parks and Recreation Master Plan, the Cultural Master Plan, as well as the Economic and Community Development Master Plan. And I forgot my glasses in the car. Tonight, just wanted to briefly highlight how we developed the strategic plan. As part of the presentation, we'll just go through the project objectives, the process that we took, the engagement, and then my colleague Andy Goldie will be talking about the 5 goals and strategic priorities and actions, and a little bit more elaboration on the other master plans and how we're going to have a system in place to track the progress. And then, of course, if there's any questions at the end, we're happy to answer any of them. So first of all, it's important for us to just understand the project objectives that were outlined in the town's RFP. And the quote is sort of the town's strategic plan is a critical document outlining council priorities and initiatives over the 4-year term, providing guidance on major projects and areas of focus. But the most important thing is we got to this final plan by doing the following. defining clear, actionable priorities with specific timelines, examining the important issues and opportunities in the town, conducting and facilitating engagement with council, staff, as well as the community. To be sure we got to the plan the strategic plan for Minto was that we wanted to make sure that it was built into 3 phases. Phase 1 was ensuring that we proposed those clear expectations and deliverables. If you recall, we had a kickoff meeting back in the fall with the 2 interim CAOs and the senior staff to sort of set the stage and the scheduling. Phase 2, we were building the base of the strategic plan. We did this with interviews, we had leadership workshops and staff surveys, and we also had public information sessions. Definitely this phase was the longest phase of the project. Phase 3 is the final step where MGA took all this information and synthesized it, everything into a very strong, Minto-made strategic plan. And that was the process. One of the most important phases of the whole project was definitely engagement. As noted, we really value the importance of engagement, and we had this implemented in our process. Council, staff, community all had their input and helped to identify the most important actions to tackle over the next 4 years. What we did is we summarized all this engagement and inputs, and they were all summarized into a report appendix. We not only did one-on-one interviews with staff and the senior team, and we asked them, you know, what's the most challenging thing facing the town, what needs to be accomplished, and what makes this town so unique. We worked in a working session with council and senior management team where we talked and put everything into the Minto buckets and started our strategic priorities. After session 1, we sent out an online survey to all the staff to get their input. We had over 40 responses from that, so that was an amazing result. Then in the leadership number 2, we reviewed the staff survey results, we validated them, and made any changes to and outcomes to session 1. Not only that, we also looked at the town's vision statement and created time-specific actions for each priority. Before Andy comes up, I just wanted to say the engagement in the final steps, we got over 100 inputs from staff and community on the work that they wanted to be completed in the strat plan. We prepared big panel boards and worked with our stickies and our dots. So we definitely had a lot of input. These panels were also posted on the town's website, and they also went out to staff and to the community for additional engagement. So that's the background in the process. And now Andy Goldie is going to talk about the actual strategic plan. I think I did really good without my glasses.
Thanks, Tracy, and good evening, council and members of staff. So what's exciting about this is, as Tracy's mentioned this is really your plan. You prepared it, you developed it. We were here just to help facilitate and guide with some of the conversations and really pull all this engagement together from staff, the community. And what was exciting about the last part of out in the community is a lot of things that this council and the senior team and staff were talking about were on the same minds as what the community was. So you really had a really good feel of what the community was looking for and what they thought were the priorities. As you can see from the stickies, there's additional pieces. Some of it will lead into the master plans that will pull into that. So it's great that we are doing all these plans together. But we came up with these 5 strategic goals. The first one being manage our infrastructure and maintain, renew, and expand our municipally owned infrastructure to enhance healthy growth in our environment. There were 3 strategic priorities, and at the end of the day, there are 9 specific actions within each of those priorities. We've only highlighted a few just to kind of show how we've came about those. At the end of the day, for the first strategic priority, evidence-based asset management approach to new infrastructure and renewal projects, and one of those specific actions is renew medium and long-term capital financial plans. And again, we've got even more specific so the community understands we've got a little bit of fire under the gun that we have short, medium, and long-term priorities that we need to tackle as staff and as council over the next 4 years. And so we set those out as short, medium, and long-term so that you know what are the first priorities, what are second priorities, and what are third priorities. And even as we talked out into the community, those were questions we were asking, saying, you know, is this something you think is a high priority or a low priority? And we got a lot of great feedback with the dots and the voting of how we came about those. So at the end of the day, we had over 100 actions coming out of all the engagement process, and we've got it down to now just over 50, which is more manageable to be able to do look after in the 4 years. Our feeling is that having over 100 actions to try to accomplish is a little bit unreasonable. We will identify some of those in the master plans as well, but this is now a more implementation piece is a more something that we can tackle as a staff and council over the next 4 years of term. The second goal, quality of life. And at this one, we actually had a lot of feedback. We were at Palmerston Arena while the hockey and figure skating were going on. So we had a lot of parents and kids coming in and gave us a lot of good input for the future Parks Recreation Master Plan. So not only were we getting engagement for the strategic plan, we were also getting engagement for the others. And Mark joined us that full day of out in the community, and it was great to hear from them. So the quality of life is something that every community really strives for. We know that's what everybody moves to the community for. It comes for their business. It's a strong economic driver of people why they want to come and live or work in your community. Minto's already showed its strong support for parks recreation over the years with all the facilities and spaces. And now we just need to build upon those and look at what the future entails. Here we had 3 strategic priorities. One, optimizing programs in our municipal facilities for all. This leads into the approval of the Parks and Rec Master Plan that we're already beginning to work on. And our hope is by the May, June, we'll have that plan coming forward for council with the recommendations for there. So there will be an early check off of saying, yep, we've done that work. We have those recommendations and we're moving forward. We'll be able to show that what you said back here now and over the last couple of months, you're actually implementing and taking action on those as moving forward. We've already had, some of that strategic alignment to the master plans, and one of the things that you guys sent out was the 3 master plans and strategic plan all happening together, and you're already seeing the benefits because we're already having those interrelationships between the master plans and the strategic plans, so it's working out well. Goal number 3 is strong, vibrant economy. And again, this is another area we have a master plan underway with the economic and community development. But here, progressively support our local businesses while leveraging Minto's competitive advantage to attract new economic development investments. And as you remember at our session 1 and session 2, we actually looked at those words. And these are your words gathered together. We reaffirmed those in the second session. And then we developed those strategic priorities and actions with the sticky notes and the dots. And I think the dots were very valuable for us at the end of the day of looking at all those 100 actions. Which ones did everybody from council and staff and community felt were the highest? And those are the ones we funneled into the final plan at the end of the day. Goal number 4, inclusive community. This is something that I think as a former CAO in the County of Wellington that Minto is well known for and the leaders in that inclusion, diversity, and equity in the community. And this is just to be able to build further upon that and show that leadership within the county and around Southern Ontario. So here, foster a welcoming, accessible, and understanding community where your family belongs. Remember, we had a lot of chat about how that rolled in and how we wanted to see that and tying into back to the Minto where your family belongs. Here we had 4 strategic priorities, and just to identify one of the actions under 4.3, collaborating with our local community. Create a volunteer database and explore other support tools for volunteer organizations with a medium term of about 2 to 3 years to be able to get that implemented, because we know there's a bit of a base work and working with the organizations to get that going as well. This is one the cultural master plan will fit under. So that is one of the actions under 4.1. But again, we're working on that, and we'll have that done by May, June as well. Again, so another one of those things that you're showing that you want to get action on, and you're going to be actually completing in the first year of this term. And finally was responsible government. This was that, if you recall, after the first session was the board with about 100 stickies on it with everybody saying we need to be working on this. This is really that process organizational part that builds a strong organization. We already know Minto has great staff, and here is now just we heard from staff, we heard some of the concerns, we heard some of the positive comments, and how do we build that so that we have a really strong organizational level of staff to help create these plans, how to implement those plans, and be sure that things are being actionable and accountable as we move forward. So here we actually had the most amount of strategic priorities with 5 and a total of 19 actions. That may seem like a large number, but some of these were very easy, actionable items that can be happening very quickly, changing very quickly, for some of them for internal communication, some of those with HR plans and things of that nature. And this was the category that we had a lot of the upper levels of government, of making sure that we're continuously speaking to the upper levels of government about needing more help, needing more funding, and needing more resources back in town of Minto to provide support those social services, our operational issues, housing, things of that nature, that this council and most small municipalities and municipalities don't have a lot of control or say over, but we're always look to being able to drive those locally within our organization. So as Tracy mentioned earlier, we do have the 3 other master plans that we're currently working on. These will be important to be able to provide more recommendations to the overall plan. We've got some already good engagement, and I know Bill's already been working with Belinda getting some of the economic key stakeholder interviews happening, and we're coming to the Economic Committee in March to be going through that. Some of the actions that we saw from the poster boards or panel boards will develop back into the master plans, so that'll be good. And then we want to assure everybody listening tonight, not only will council and staff and the community will have their further engagement into those master plans. So again, very much more made in Minto plans from there on. And last but not least, we provided to Mark and Chris a progress tracker. This is a good performance management tool, a tracking tool. What we've done is taking every one of those priorities and goals and actions and listed them in a chart form. So with their target dates, Mark and Chris will have to go through and assign, and with the senior management team, of what department is the lead responsibility. So there's accountability from who's going to be making sure that action is moving forward. A completion time, percent completion. So in my past world, what we would do is present this to council on a quarterly or every 6 months, as we also let it off in the budget. We gave council an update as well as community exactly where each one of these actions stands and what is the status and what's being accomplished to this day. So it really is that performance management tool, holding yourselves accountable, saying, we said we were going to do this. Here's the timeline we said we were going to do. Here's who's responsible for it, and here's what's happening for it. Obviously, through the evolution of this over the next few years, some things may get a little bit delayed, but here's a great reporting tool to be able to say, this is why, and here's the rationale why. And it could be provincial legislation, it could be provincial funding or things of that nature that may drive some of that as well. And then finally, in closing, we'd just like to thank council, the senior team, staff, and the community for the amazing work on this. This is truly Minto's ideas and strategic plan priorities. In fact, we even had the assistance of Aaron from Belinda's department helping with the graphic package that's as part of the program or the report tonight. Typically, we may hire someone outside as a graphic person to do that and assist us. But again, it just really shows the amount of work that this community has done and this council has done and staff have done to say this is really ours. this is our ownership and this is our graphic material, go through with it. So we'd like to thank everybody who was involved. We're excited about continuing to work on the 3 master plans and hopefully getting those wrapped up before the summer. And we'd like to thank everybody for their involvement. We had some great conversations and discussions with you, some good lively debate. And as you recall back to the word rumble, we had some good rumble conversations. And we're happy to answer, Tracy and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy, Tracy. So, Mark, do you want to present first, and then we'll take questions at the end, or okay? Is that okay? All right. Thank you very much. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Turton. I would once again like to thank Tracy and Andy for the presentation and their work in facilitating the process that got us to the strategic plan that is before council this evening. As Andy mentioned, a special note of thanks goes to Aaron Raftis, who worked on the graphics package for the final documents. Attached to the staff report is the proposed 2024 to 2028 strategic plan and the final detailed report from MGA. Council and staff now have a new roadmap that clearly outlines goals, priorities, and actions to accomplish in this term of council and beyond, and staff is recommending adopting the new 2024 to 2028 Town of Minto strategic plan and the new vision statement, which is a progressive rural community where all people are welcome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mark. So any questions for Andy, Tracy, Mark, Dave? Questions? I know that we spent quite a bit of time on this, quite a bit of time together in this room. And I mean, everybody here has went over it numerous times, and it's a living document. There'll be no dust on it. We're gonna start tomorrow. So, any questions or anybody? Go ahead, Councillor Dirksen.
I had made some notes and I can't understand what on earth. Okay, this one I understand. Will the CAO candidates be receiving this document, a copy of this document?
I would think they will after it's adopted.
I think that'd be a great idea.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's
Go ahead,
the
Andy.
timing is perfect.
Yeah, and as part of our work doing the other master plans, we'd be more than happy to sit down with the new CAO and walk them through the process and what we've done, so they have a better understanding of how it's being developed, and so that they have that buy-in and understanding how they want to move forward.
I also wanted to ask the question: is every last picture in the strategic plan from Minto? Yes. Okay. There was one I wasn't sure, so I just wanted to check and make sure, because if there isn't, somebody else will know. That very long greenhouse on page 3. Oh, that's reroutes. Okay. Yep. And there was one other one, but I did figure out it really is in Harrison. And 0.54, I don't know what that is. Anyways, I just said I liked it a lot. Great morale, keep it up and make it better. I don't know what that was referring to now because I just put a number there. But anyways, I think it's a great report, and I really appreciate your work on this.
No other comments? Yeah, I'd just like to close by thanking you guys, your group. The kind comments about our staff is very much appreciated because we do have a great staff, and our council and our staff work very well together. And so we're just looking forward to pushing this through and getting on with it and working on the next 3. So we'll see your guys' smiling faces again, and maybe by the next time we will have a CAO in place, but no guarantees. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. So I have a resolution moved by Councillor Potnovitz, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that the Council of the Town of Minto receives report CAO 2024-001 regarding the Town of Minto 2024 to 2028 strategic plan, and that Council of the Town of Minto adopts the 2024 to 2028 strategic plan as presented. Any other questions? All in favor of the motion? Drive careful home, you guys. Thanks a lot. Public question period.
Gotta move that.
Yeah, it's likely better off near the end. So correspondence received for information. I have a motion by Councillor Plavich, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the council receives the correspondence as information. And is there any that anybody wants to talk about? Ed, anything to do with Councillor Plavich, I should say, with the Maitland Valley?
No, I think the minutes reflect what the MBCA is doing. Nothing to report out of that.
We just happened to be at the AGM for the Maitland Valley, and we do have a new chair. Doing a lot with very little. That's what Maitland Valley does. And so, anything else? Hearing none, I'm going to call the question. All in favor of receiving the correspondence? That's carried. Thank you. Reports by committees. Committee minutes for approval, we have none. We're going to move right into announcements. There's no staff reports, so announcements. As we said earlier, that 13B1 would be next meeting. So, Councillor Elliott, do you want to start?
Oh, I'm good. Thanks.
Councillor
I
Plavich.
have no announcements.
Councillor Johnson.
I have one, Mayor Turton. Friday, March 1st, the Harrison Rising, presents 2024 Chili Cook-Off at the Harrison Legion. So there's going to be local businesses make their best chili. Residents can come and taste and vote for their favorites. And it's from 6:30 till 8 at the Harrison Legion, admission by donation. And I think Eric Cox won it last year.
You think?
I had nothing to do with it.
Councillor Dirksen?
I have nothing to add.
Nothing for me.
And nothing for me either.
Okay, I really don't have anything to add either. I know there's a lot of exciting things going on out there, but I just can't put my finger on it. We're going to move along then. Moved by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Councillor Gunson, that the committee of the whole convenes into the regular council. All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. Notices of motion. Hearing none. Moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Dirksen. Council of Town of Minto ratifies the motion made in the committee of the whole. All in favor of that motion? It's carried. Thank you. Bylaws. Moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Plavich. The bylaws 2024-010 be read a first, second, and third time. Sorry? What did I
We'd be
miss?
moving on just to confirmatory. The bylaw was a portion that we were removing.
All right, we're moving along to confirmatory because we didn't need to pass that one. So moved by Councillor Gunson, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that bylaw 2024-010 to confirm the actions of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Minto respecting a meeting held February 20th, 24, be read a first, second, third time and passed in open council and sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor of that motion? There is one thing that I'd like to bring up, and that is a Minto cleanup day. I've been approached by the Harrison Kinsmen, Palmerston Lions, about having a day set aside for Minto cleanup, whether it's rural, urban, whatever. And so we're working on a date. We think we have a date nailed down, but we have a little bit of, there's something else going on that day and we don't want to have it happen the same date. So it'll be late April or early May that it'll be a Saturday, that the County of Wellington works with us. They supply bags and containers, put the garbage in that's picked up. So more to come, more information to come. Adjournment, moved by Councillor Potnovich, second by Councillor Zimmerman. The Council Town of Minto adjourns to meet again at the call of the mayor. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you very much.